And Jack, you can come on back up to the microphone and share your remarks with us, and then we'll do some photos right after that.
Good evening, President Redmond, board members, and Superintendent Gregorski. My name is Jack Genesee. I am a 5th grade student at Bonnie Holland Elementary. I've been at Bonnie Holland Elementary since 4th grade. It takes a little time getting used to going to a new school, but eventually you get to find your place. I enjoy the PE teachers because they're pretty funny. We have the house system, and I am in the blue house, which is the house of dreamers, and gives me my identity. I have great interest in zoology and the study of animals. I find reptiles most interesting. I hope that everyone is having a wonderful day and continues to. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Mr. President.
Ms. Champagne.
May I say something real quick? I want to get a shout out to Sarah Prudian, the choir director, because she was with me at Taylor, with my kids, and I know from personal experience she is an awesome teacher. And I enjoyed going to Disney World with you on the 20-hour bus drive. That was fun.
Thank you very much. Do we have any? Let's go. We move on to 3 recognitions, and I'll start us off with the presenter. For those of you who have tuned into our board meetings recently, you've noticed a new tradition that we started this year. At each regular board meeting, trustees are showing their school spirit by wearing the colors of one of our 10 high schools. And tonight, we're proudly representing Maid Creek High School and sporting their bold green and white. Go Rams! Trustee Dawn Champagne tonight. She serves as our Katy ISD board liaison for Maid Creek High School, and I'd like to invite her to share a few words. Ms. Champagne.
Thank you, President Redmond. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the incredible educators, coaches, fine arts directors, and staff members who've helped shape the proud legacy of Maid Creek High School. Many of you are here tonight, and let me also add, I know y'all are called the Creek, right? Founded in 1984, Maid Creek serves more than 2,700 students and offers a rich academic that includes advanced placement, honors, dual credit, international business, and a wide range of career and technical education courses. The Rams have built a remarkable tradition of excellence, earning UIL marching band honors, demonstrating outstanding leadership in Naval JROTC, and producing athletes who have gone to compete professionally and even in the Olympics. Yep. With its strong academics, celebrated arts program, spirited athletics, and impressive alumni, May Creek High School truly lives up to its motto, Ram Pride Never Dies. And I just want to add a little thing. I was assigned to you all in 2018-2019 school year, my first year as a trustee, and now I'm assigned to you again. And when I walk into that y'all school, I mean, you can feel the energy. And you know, Mr. Edwards was there when I started, and now Mrs. Herring is there, and it's the same energy. And I appreciate the service that you give to our children. And let's give a round of applause to May Creek educators.
Thank you, Ms. Champagne. If we could invite up all of our May Creek educators here to take a photo with the board. We'll take that real quick and then continue on in our meeting. Do we have any scouts in the audience tonight? Seeing none, we will continue on to Section 4, Public Comment. At this time, the Board of Trustees will give members of the public an opportunity to speak in accordance with Katy ISD Board Policy BED Local. As defined by board policy, speakers who signed up by 2 p.m. on Monday, October 27th, will be allowed to address the board. Speakers who signed up to speak on posted agenda items will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. Speakers that signed up to speak on non-agenda items will be allowed 90 seconds to speak. If a speaker is not finished speaking at the end of their allotted time, the audio will turn off. The board shall not tolerate disruption of the meeting by members of the audience. If after at least one warning from the presiding officer, any person continues to disrupt this meeting by his or her words or actions, the presiding officer or his or her designee may request assistance from law enforcement officials to have the person removed from the meeting. If speakers wish to share written material with the board, please provide 10 copies to the Secretary for Board Services before the board meeting begins for board members, the superintendent, the chief communications officer, and permanent record. If a speaker has not attempted to solve the matter administratively through proper channels as stated in board policy, the presiding officer's designee shall advise the speaker to seek resolution through the appropriate policy. Finally, pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.074 and 551.0821, the board will not permit the presentation of personally identifiable information regarding a student and will not discuss the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee. Should a speaker wish to address one of these issues, they must do so through the appropriate local grievance policies, FNG local, DGBA local, CKE local, or GF local. Our speakers will be called forward in the order that they signed up to speak. We'll start with agenda items tonight. And that first speaker tonight will be Tamara McFarland, followed by Trevor Anderson.
Good evening, trustees, superintendent, and Katy ISD leadership. First, as a mom, I'd like to thank you all for implementing Resolution SB 12. And for years, Kuzel and Calhoun have worked to protect the physical safety and students and also to remove explicit and gender ideology content. And those efforts are now fortified in state law. So thank you. Regarding the security agenda, years ago I had requested metal detectors starting at high schools. Our schools already have amazing officers and security measures, and this would be the next logical step. Even in small claims court, you have to go through a metal detector before you enter the court. And I noticed that you installed one here today, or at some point. I was at the Fort Bend County Commissioner's Court the other day, and they were just installing a new metal detector. And so this inexpensive security feature we see in public facilities such as courts and airports would be wise for our public schools to enhance the safety of all students and staff, and I know that it would bring parents peace of mind. So I don't know if this is in the works, but if it isn't, I would appreciate consideration. I also heard the news report October 10th of a felon that made online gun threats against a Katy ISD high school, and in court documents it did show that he did say that, but he didn't call the school, but he said that to a family member. Police pulled him over in a police chase, and he had a loaded gun and lots of ammunition. So hopefully he would have never acted on that, but I just think when you hear these stories, and then also students that have brought firearms over the years, you know, very rare, obviously, but I would be grateful if you would consider metal detectors. So I know that each and every one of you care about this district and its children. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Next is Trevor Anderson, followed by Bonnie Glenn.
Good evening, members of the Board of Trustees, superintendent staff, and community members. My name is Trevor Anderson, and I'm a student of Katy ISD. I'm here tonight because I care deeply about the safety and security of our schools, and I want to talk about a student's right to stand their ground and defend themselves. Every day, students in Katy ISD walk into their schools trusting that they're entering a safe place to learn, grow, and be themselves. But sometimes that safety is broken. Conflicts happen, someone gets shoved, hit, or cornered. And in that moment, when a student is attacked or threatened, their instinct isn't or shouldn't be to run away, but it should be to protect themselves, not exactly to hurt the other person, but to stand their ground and stay safe. The problem is that under our current discipline policies, students who defend themselves are often punished the same as those who start the fights. Same consequences, the same record, no matter the situation. That may seem fair on paper, but in reality, it punishes students who are just trying not to be hurt. The policy today tells students to flee, inform, and tell. But sometimes running away isn't possible or safe. Sometimes the only thing the student can do is stand their ground, block a hit, or strike someone to stop the attack. The current policy doesn't protect those students. It teaches them that defending themselves will get them in trouble. That isn't justice. It's fear disguised as fairness. Let me be clear. Violence should never be encouraged or excused. But there is a difference, a big difference, between being the aggressor and being the victim. A student who refuses to be a victim, who stands firm and defend themselves reasonably, should not be treated like a troublemaker. They should be respected for their courage and their right to stay safe. Across Texas and across the country, other districts have begun updating their codes of conduct to recognize self-defense and standing one's ground as valid considerations when discipline decisions are made. They look at the full context. Who started it, tried to walk away, and who was just protecting themselves. Katy ISD has always been a good leader in academics, in athletics, and in student character. We can lead fairness and safety too. I'm asking the board to review our discipline policies and add a clear language that protects the student's right to use whatever means necessary to defend themselves when attacked. Because when students know they'll be treated fairly, they'll feel safer. And when they feel safe, they can learn, grow, and thrive, which is what you are here to make possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Bonnie Glenn.
been here since masks. It's weird. So I'm proud of my son, Trevor, for that. I know we're a little late on the whole self-defense thing. Those of you, I don't even know why some of you are still here. Your kids are grown and gone, but you still feel the need to vote on active district policies as if it has any bearing on your lives. Rebecca Foxton, Champaign. And there was a chance that this could have changed when we had Mr. Perez, but we're not there anymore. So I'm proud of him. I have told him that he should expect absolutely nothing to change. It won't change. I told him, come here tonight, speak. Nothing, it won't make a difference. But he really, really still wanted to. So to add what he said, and I know that some of you already know this, that self-defense is a right. It's not violence. It's not mutual conflict. Katy ISD, compared to other large districts, is one of the only ones that has such strict language around self-defense. So the inability to flee makes it obviously much more difficult to make self-defense claims. I watched the July 21st board workshop, and I saw Justin Graham inform the board that self-defense is very rare. But that's because you don't know what true self-defense looks like. You think that this looks like a lash out in anger or an irrational escalation indicative of a weak-minded person, such as yourself. But that's not what this is. The problem is you're brushing aside true self-defense, which is actually rooted in mental fortitude and carries with it the courage, clarity, and principle to be able to stand your ground in defense of yourself or someone you might be obligated to protect. So for what it's worth, I'm aware of other students who are unable to make self-defense claims, and their parents are proud of them also for standing their ground. My children know you're not going to flee. That just encourages a bully to come back again and again. And Redmond, I don't know what you're doing voting against policies like this. And all these people here tonight, I don't know what they're here for, and I'm trying to not make assumptions, but if it has anything to do with sexualization of children in schools, ask yourselves, why are you targeting water parks, schools, places where children hang out? There are nightclubs. There are things, adult places to have conversations like this. And schools are not the place for that. Thank you.
We'll now move on to non-agenda items. Again, there will be 90 seconds for each speaker. We'll start with Ms. Tana Weiss, followed by Kelly Hamilton.
Point of order, President Redmond.
Ms. Gazella?
I was under the understanding there were 30 plus people who had signed up to speak.
Yes, ma'am.
They were given 56 seconds. They were notified that by the district.
Yes.
And you did read in the opening, as defined by board policy, I'm quoting you, speakers who signed up by 2 p.m. on Monday, October 27th, 2025 will be allowed to address the board, but we have over maybe approximately 15 people who have now been told they cannot speak. Can you please, what happened?
Shed some light on that? Absolutely. Board policy says that the first 20 people signed up will be allotted to 30 minutes. I was informed that there was an error made communicating a 56-second time frame. And then when I was informed of that, I realized I didn't have the ability to change board policy as an individual. So I said, what does board policy say we'll do? So we enforce that.
I'm sorry, can you clarify?
We're following board policy. The first 20 people who sign up are allowed, the 30 minutes is allotted between them.
When were you informed of that?
This afternoon, right before the meeting.
Okay, right before, but all our public constituents or people who came to speak were not informed of that till right
before. Go back and look at the email when it was sent out to address them.
I would request that what you read, that we've been reading since ever I've been here, every meeting, nothing states that only 20 people will be taken.
Okay.
So that comes as a surprise.
Okay. So update our board policy or update the...
what you state as board president.
I think that's fair. We can do that. We do call on, we do reference our board policy, BED local, but this next agenda, we will make sure we address that with everything.
I think it might be fair to honor the people who came to speak, who did sign up, who were confirmed tonight.
If the board would choose to, would that be just not follow our board policy? We can absolutely do that.
I move to make an exception tonight to honor the public who came. Everybody.
I second.
So it's a little bit confusing. We don't have an action item here. Is my microphone on? Can you guys hear me? So again, what Mr. Redmond states and what every former board president has stated since 2022 is that public comment is governed by board policy BED local. That's the board policy that this board is governed by. That board policy specifically says, and I'm going to quote your policy, only the first 20 speakers who sign up will be allowed to speak on non-agenda items. And so while there was an email that was sent in error about 2:30 to folks that said, hey, you have 56 seconds, that was once it was called to attention, that was remedied about 3:50, so less than an hour and a half later was remedied and said, hey, the board, and I spoke directly with Mr. Redmond, again, as the presiding officer of this meeting, just like presiding officer of the past, he has to follow board policy. So if that is something that you guys want to change in the future, my recommendation is going to be let's submit that to the policy committee, have them review that process. So that's going to be my recommendation to this board.
President Redmond, I respectfully do not agree with council for tonight. I understand it is in policy, but that is not transparent to the public. It's never been what we've read. So they were confirmed to speak. So I'd like to ask you, President Redmond, to please honor the people who signed up and are here present to speak when their name is called. The original list.
So, as a board from now on, there are no rules, no policy to follow. There's not a standard that we should uphold.
No, we're upholding the policy. It's there. But you have the power to honor the people who were confirmed and give grace for the mistake that was made.
Absolutely understand grace and the ability to do that. The standard that's been set by this board for years has been to stay with what our policy is. There have been times that there's been opportunities to veer from that, but as a board, we've voted on and approved these policies and said this is how we'll act. Looking at the list, there are people that are on both sides of the issue. Did consider, do we make that change? And then came to my senses that as an individual, we don't have that power. And so as a board.
Mr. President.
Ms. Fox.
In the past, we have had people, when they had to come and sign up by a certain time, we've had students who were in an activity who were trying to get here and they didn't sign up in time. They were denied the right to speak. We've had people stuck in traffic, employees who signed up in time but didn't get here for the 4:45 sign-in sheet. They were not allowed to speak. That happens repeatedly, and so, I mean, we have policies for a reason, and we can certainly revisit them, but many of the trustees on this dais have served on the policy committee, and I'm pretty confident they're familiar with policy and everything in there, and we could have changed it before now if that was going to be a problem. But, you know, I know there are many people who look through the policy with lots of attention to detail. This is not new to them, and so I think if we're going to follow the law, our policy is the law of the school board.
President Redmond, if I could respond. That has nothing to do with tonight. That when they arrive, what I'm talking about is the district confirmed with 30 some odd speakers that they were to speak tonight. They were given a time that they were allowed, 56 seconds or something like that. So a mistake was made. This is corrected. Yes, but I don't agree with the correction, is what I'm taking issue with. I think we should honor the public. This is about First Amendment rights, speaking, and this is our public. It's not a complicated concept.
Thank you, Ms. Gazella. So ruling on the point of order, we will continue to follow policy. And we'll follow what our policy says. We will update the communication to our public. We do want to provide every opportunity for them to speak. We also want to make sure it's fair for everyone that's come before them, that we have applied the policy, and we'll continue to apply it going forward unless it changes.
Point of clarification.
Ms. Calhoun.
On when you're talking about making this clear, we're trying to be fair to everybody who came before them. On those other instances where the people sent notification that they had been accepted to speak, I know that we changed the policy that you had to sign in by 4:45. That is no longer policy. You can sign in.
Yes.
We removed that. So prior to, did they just get, if they signed up and they were the 21st person, then they wouldn't have been sent confirmation. So that's where the difference is that we're talking about. The difference is these people were sent confirmation that they were going to be allotted time and the freedom and the ability to speak. That's a distinction that it was our mistake. We own the mistake. We give the grace to the people who made the choice to come and speak, regardless of whether I agree with them or not. That's irrelevant. They were given the opportunity to, and they said that they had confirmation that they were going to. I saw the list. It was 32 speakers on non-agenda, 4 speakers on agenda, 36 speakers in total. I agree. I think that we need to move forward with honoring the people that we told them that they were going to have the opportunity to speak. That was our mistake, our bad. We need to own it and make it right.
We also communicated We also did communicate that it was an error, and we sent them the update that they weren't going to be able to speak, and we did that an hour and a half ago.
At 3:58, when people have made all sorts of plans to get here, to try to be here, knowing that they were going to have the ability to speak, I don't think that that's right for us to make that decision. I'm not making that decision. I think
Mr. President, I would just respectfully ask you to reconsider, because I don't even know who was going to be speaking and what they're going to be saying, but I don't want to be an elected official that doesn't allow people to speak.
Yep. Understand. So, not an agenda item. So it's not something we can legally take action on tonight. So it's not a vote.
We can change the way we're a board. We can change.
Oh, I'm just saying we can't vote on it. I'm taking into consideration. So in the future, sorry, Mr. Graham.
If the board's feedback is we want everybody that signs up to be able to speak, then we can do that. As an administration, we're required to follow the policies that you guys have set. The policy that you've set says the first 20 speakers. There was an error. There was a clerical error made. That was as soon as it was found out, it was remedied. The problem that you get into, and I'm not going to go into a ton of legal advice, but if you've had presiding officers in the past that have waived certain rules, you really run the risk of some viewpoint discrimination, irrespective of the 12 people that are now that have signed up late or signed up past the 20. And I know that on this particular item, as I look at the list, I see folks that will be on both sides of that aisle. Irrespective of that's the risk that you run as a board. That if you're going to violate your own policy, if you're not going to say that these are the rules we have in place, and I will tell you at the outset of what this board president and every former board president has said for a long time is that the Katy ISD board policy BED local governs this. That's the first sentence that's said. And so this board's policy says the first 20 speakers. And so that's what we're honoring. We're honoring this board's policy. And if this board wants to do something different, then that's something we can revisit, and I encourage you to submit your comments to the board policy committee, and we will go through that formal process so that we're not viewpoint discriminatory.
Mr. President,
Ms. Gazella.
no one in this room, when you sign up to be a speaker, states their viewpoint. That is discrimination. We need to be very clear about that.
the topic of discussion, some people make the choice to declare what their viewpoint is on it. Again,
I would like to see that.
well, I
It's
mean,
on your list.
Where's the viewpoint?
Mr.
on
President,
topic of discussion, people put that. Not everybody. I think the
It
point
is
would
an
say.
inaccurate statement
Okay.
to state, like counsel said, that when you sign up to speak, you have stated your viewpoint. That is discriminatory.
All right. Okay, so I want to provide a point of clarification, and I'm going to go through the list. This is a publicly available list if anybody wants to see it, because what I've told you is that there are people speaking on both sides of the aisle. So I'm going to read from you from two different speakers. One says that trustees Cozella and Calhoun should be censured at the board meeting tonight. The other one says a defense of Calhoun and Cozella to explain their actions. So we could all understand as learned people that those are two different sides of the aisle. And those are folks that are actually after that. Those are folks that fall within the 12 people that have signed up late. You guys have a copy of that. You have had it in your file, in your folder there. So for you to say that we now don't have a difference of opinion, guys, I'm reading from what was put down on the list. It's black and white. Very black.
Not on every speaker, General Counsel.
I didn't say every speaker. I said that there
Then
was
your
a-
statement is inaccurate.
Mr. President.
Mr. President,
Ms. Teamy, then Ms. Fox.
Okay, thank you. How is it discriminatory to not allow everyone to speak that signed up, that got an email confirmation? I don't understand. I'm sorry. I'm not following that could be discriminatory. If we just let everyone speak that got an email, how is that discriminatory?
Right. So
The opposite of discriminatory.
again, we're going to go into an area of legal guidance which I would not give in public. But what I have said in the past is when we've given exceptions, you run the risk. If you do not, your board policy has been adopted and been approved by council. Both myself, TASB, outside counsel has approved this particular policy. Every time that a board president makes a decision to step outside of this, which has happened in the past, you run the risk of being viewpoint discriminatory.
Ms. Fox.
Mr. President, I wonder if there are people who were sent the email and said that there's a correction to be made who didn't show up tonight. So that wouldn't be fair if we break the rules and say, okay, we're going to let everybody who showed up, and then they didn't. So it's really just not fair. The people who got the email and chose not to come because they were told they would not be allowed to speak. And now we're going to let some speak, and then we didn't give them an opportunity. I just think that we are we're creating an unfair decision here. I want everyone to speak too. And email me, call me, I'll listen to everyone.
Mr. President?
Ms. Cozella.
Could I please have clarification if we cannot bring this to a vote right now?
Clarification on, like a
want-
rule on your point of order?
I would like to vote to allow all the speakers who came to speak. Can we put that to a vote, President Redmond?
That would not be, I don't believe that's legal. I mean, of all the things we can do, it's not an agenda item. It's not an action we can take. So to rule on the point of order, I do hear what everyone's saying. Also know that this could be a conversation we have every single week because something could happen. Ms. Calhoun, I do understand your point on the error with the email being sent out. Ms. Fox, also hear what you're saying about the people who got the email and then did not show up and then would be left out. And so I think we're guided on policy, and if we want to change that, then we can change policy. So we'll continue on following policy, and the 20 people who are on the list, they will have the opportunity to speak. They'll have 90 seconds here, and we'll continue on. So first speaker tonight on non-agenda items, Tana Weiss, followed by Kelly Hamilton.
Good evening. President Redmond, Dr. Gregorski, and board members. Y'all have just proven what I'm about to say. My name is Tana Weiss, and tonight I was going to read a letter I've had from teachers across the district who've been waiting for several months to have their voices heard. Now I'm not. Why? Because each month gets hijacked by Ms. Cozella Ms. Calhoun or Ms. Teamy's antics outside the scope of their duties as school board members, which is really a fitting metaphor for what they are doing to this district, taking away the focus from our students and staff, ensuring that their public lies and outcries on social media and in these meetings take precedence over the business of our district. Ms. Cazella, your online bullying of anyone who doesn't look like you or think like you or go to church at your church is shameful. Ms. Calhoun, your racially charged comments have no place here. You were elected to serve all students. And Ms. Teamy, spreading falsehoods about who speaks at these meetings while welcoming your own out-of-state allies is pure hypocrisy. The three of you spend more time fueling division than supporting student success, and it shows, as does all of your backup back here. So yes, I'll hold on to my teachers' letters for now, but make no mistake, their voices and the truth.
Thank you. Next will be Kelly Hamilton, followed by Sophia Peruzzi. And I would like to remind the audience that we have decorum we follow, and just appreciate you continue to follow that. Ms. Hamilton first, and then Ms. Peruzzi will be next. Thank you.
I did cut it to 90 seconds, and or 50 seconds, so I'll just stick with that. I am Kelly Hamilton, and I've been a classroom teacher for 36 years, and I still love working with the kids in the classroom. I'd like to thank Ms. Hubble for clarifying that team meetings during teacher planning time are voluntary. Unfortunately, not all campuses receive that message, so I've shared with you 2 documents that were sent to me from teachers which are forced to team meet weekly and reprimanded if even one of those members doesn't show up. These teachers are hesitant to speak because, like many other Katy teachers, they've seen administration intentionally move teachers to a non-preferred grade level or subject for speaking out. I'd like to publicly thank my campus, Wood Creek, for thinking outside of the box and moving our school's PLCs to dismissal time with coverage so that teachers can collaborate without impacting our teacher planning time and our instructional time. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Peruzzi, followed by Kenneth Smith.
Good evening, trustees. My name is Sophia Peruzzi. I'm a Katy resident. Ms. Calhoun and Ms. Cuzella, you have fought to take away the right of parents to decide which books their children are allowed to read from the school library. You have taken away parents' rights to allow their student to be called by their preferred names. You claim to act in the name of parental rights, but your actions take away choice from everyone, including parents. Now you believe it is your duty to call on Katy residents to vilify the LGBTQ community. Your words on social media were clearly intended to pressure Typhoon, Texas to cancel Pride. Trustee Cuzella even condoned doxing the owners by allowing their personal contact information to remain on her social media post, resulting in threats and ultimately forcing Typhoon, Texas to cancel Pride out of concern for safety. That is not leadership. That is intimidation, and Katy ISD deserves better. As public school board members, please stop using your interpretation of religion to promote hate in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be Kenneth Smith, followed by Wei Jinhao, or Jinhao Wei. Kenneth Smith? Nope. Then Jinhao Wei.
Good evening, board trustees. My name is Jinhao Wei. I'm a Katy ISD parent. First, I would send my special thanks to Trustee Mary Ellen Cozella and Trustee Morgan Calhoun for courageously speaking out against the Katy Pride event. The activities associated with that event were not appropriate for children. Thank you for protecting our students. Amen. Secondly, I'd like to thank you all the trustees for supporting the placement of the 10 Commandments in Katy ISD classrooms. The 10 Commandments are the cornerstone of America's moral and legal heritage. I truly believe they belong in our public school classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Luke Liu, followed by Amelia Smith.
Thank you. I'm a parent and a teacher. I support and appreciate Trustees Kozella and Cahoon for speaking against the Katy Pride event to protect our children. Thank you for supporting the placement of the 10 Commandments in the classroom. America becomes a joke of the world and is doomed when she prides herself on sexual immorality. I'm asking Board President Redmond to protect our children from groups such as Katy Pride, so the pathway from trans people to hateful school shooters would not be possible. I urge President of Katy Pride, Amanda Rose, Harris County Commissioner Leslie Browning to stop corrupting our young people, or boycott any organization that cooperates with evil, will love sinners, will hate sins. Jesus warned us, if you do not repent, you will all perish. American children may not know how to do math, but they must know the simple eternal truth. God only created male and female. Abortion is murder. Homosexuality, homosexual orientation is disordered. Homosexual acts is a grave sin. So Michael the Archangel, pray for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Amelia Smith, followed by Lynette Aladon.
First of all, I'd like to remind everyone that this is not a church. This is a school board meeting, and this is about our children. So let's keep the focus on that. I'd like to tell you about the Katy Pride event that I attended with my children, my 70-year-old mother, and my 90-year-old grandmother. It was an event that was full of love and support for my transgender daughter. What did we do there? It wasn't all this sexual deprivation that these people keep talking about. I don't know if they've ever gone to this event. We talked with organizations that provide resources and support to the LGBTQ community. We wore our rainbow shirts and took photos, and my daughter was beaming with all the love and support that she was experiencing there. We are thankful for this family event. So this is the event that Mary Ellen Kuzela and Morgan Calhoun have called a celebration of depravity and child sex grooming and used their position to rally hateful people in our community to cancel. Earlier this year, you refused to let teachers call my daughter by her preferred name and pronouns, forcing me to withdraw my child from her school. Not only did you take away my child's support at school, but now you're going to go outside of school and take away her support from community resources as well? How is this okay? This is not okay. To the two of you, stop harming our children. To the rest of you, don't let this happen.
Thank you. Ms. Lynette Aladon, followed by Tamara McFarland.
Good evening, Dr. Gugorski and the Board of Trustees. I'm Lynette Aladon, a retired Katy ISD librarian concerned stakeholder. I would like to address my concern regarding some recent issues with some of our current school board members. One of the Katy ISD school board member code of ethic is tell the truth. However, two board members have recently violated it. Mary Ellen Kuzella and Morgan Calhoun publicly participated in the hate and misinformation campaign on their personal social media accounts against a local nonprofit organization, Katy Pride, that preceded Typhoon, Texas's decision to abruptly cancel a private event contract between the venue and Katy Pride. Katy ISD staff members have been told by our district and our state that words they say or content they post publicly, even if done so on personal platforms, on personal time, may still carry professional consequences. Teachers can be disciplined for engaging in behavior that negatively reflects on the district or is perceived to interfere with their ability to do their jobs. While I was a Katy ISD employee, I was mindful of what content I posted on my personal and professional social media accounts. Tonight, I asked the board, why should that be any different for the school board members? Ms. Calhoun and Ms. Kuzella are representing the district and should be held accountable for their actions. I request that these board members should be publicly censored for their slanderous comments and actions directed at Katy's LGBTQ community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be Tamara McFarland, followed by Jesus Nito.
Hi again. Trustees Calhoun and Kuzella have been the trailblazers on this board for the protection of students and parental rights, and I applaud them for that. And now Texas has the strongest child protection and parental rights law in the country mirroring their work. So thank you. There is so much hate-filled misinformation circulating about trustees Morgan and Mary Ellen that these dedicated volunteers and moms do not deserve. I didn't see anything false that they posted, and you must think they have a lot of power to cancel an event of that magnitude. They have a right to their beliefs, and the community saw the advertised all-ages drag performances and drag story time, and this raised alarm bells. A simple search of the headline performers Kian Kismet and Serena the Teen Bitch Spellman showed pictures of their sexually explicit performances. And the Texas Penal Code prohibits these types of performances in the presence of minors. Now, I'm not saying that that is how the show went, but the community had a right to be concerned. So I think that if the organizers had not, advertised that way, we would not have this issue.
Thank you. Jesus Nieto, followed by Lauren Rosenberg.
Good evening. My name is Jesus Nieto. I'm a community organizer and a board member of Katy Pride. And my pronouns are he, him. I am a member of the community here in Katy ISD, and I'm here to demand accountability for trustees Morgan Calhoun and Mary Ellen Kuzella. Their false claims about Katy Pride caused panic, leading to last-minute changes in our venue. For 3 years, our celebrations have been completely family-friendly, yet the trustees choose to spread fear through baseless claims with misleading photos and false statements, harming families, students, and the broader community who look forward to this event as a safe and inclusive space. Teachers in Texas are being held accountable for their personal social media use, with elected officials calling for their firing and even sharing their personal information. It is only reasonable that school board members who are entrusted with guiding our schools and upholding public trust should be held to the same, if not a higher standard. President Redmond, it's time to take action. No more wishy-washy comments. You and the other colleagues can take action, which is through a form of censure, which is a public reprimand. It's simply a slap to the wrist, informing them that their behavior is not to be had anymore in this district. So, please, President Redmond, as a community member, you need to take action. It's time. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren Rosenberg, followed by Julie Ames.
Good evening, President Redmond, members of the board, Superintendent Gregorski, and everyone here tonight. My name is Lauren Rosenberg, and I'm a parent with 2 children at Pattison Elementary, and I'm here tonight with a message of gratitude. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the Pattison Elementary PTA as their PTA president. The student population at Pattison has been rapidly growing over the past several years, causing us to outgrow our campus. Portable buildings were brought in, and our entire 4th grade team, which was 10 teachers and over 200 students, were utilizing these for additional classrooms. Thanks to the 2023 Bond Committee and the support of this board, our aging campus was selected to receive an addition of 10 classrooms to our building. I want to extend our heartfelt gratitude for your vision and commitment in supporting the 2023 bond that has made our campus remodel possible. The 2024-25 school year was spent under construction, and our school motto for the year, keep going, keep growing, was very fitting as our campus was growing both academically and physically. We adapted and learned to live through the construction, and at the beginning of this school year, we were able to proudly open the new 4th grade wing of Pattison Elementary. Because of your leadership and the community's trust in your plan, our school now has a beautiful new wing with 10 additional classrooms. We know that projects like this require dedication, foresight, and collaboration. Thank you for prioritizing the safety of our students and educators and believing in the future of Pattison Elementary. Thank you.
Thank you. Julie Ames, followed by Keegan Tollison. Julie Ames. All right, we'll move on to Keegan Tollison.
Oh. I'm reading this for a concerned community member and parent, but also as someone who belongs to the LGBTQ plus community that has been directly impacted by the actions of trustees Morgan and Mary Ellen. What transpired over the past week was not merely a moral failure, it was a constitutional and ethical one. Following inflammatory social media posts and public statements made by these trustees, Typhoon Texas Water Park abruptly canceled the Katy Pride celebration. This event was meant to provide a safe, family-friendly space for inclusion, joy, and community connection. Instead, it became the target of coordinated backlash fueled by rhetoric that originated from individuals entrusted with public authority. The trustees' conduct represents a serious breach of the Texas Education Code, the Texas Government Code, the Katy ISD Board Ethics Policy, and the U.S. Constitution. When elected officials use their positions to publicly discredit marginalized groups, they are not exercising free speech. They are acting under the color of law, and their words carry the power and implication of the office that they hold. The First Amendment's established clause prohibits government officials from advancing or endorsing religious viewpoints in a way that infringes upon the rights of others. Likewise, the 14th Amendment guarantees equal protection under the law to all citizens, including LGBTQ plus students, parents, and families. The action of trustees Callahan and Cusella have eroded these protections by creating a climate of hostility and fear, signaling that discrimination cloaked in religious rhetoric is allowed within our district. Thank you.
Next will be May Yang, followed by Nancy Eddy.
Good evening, dear KISD Board of Trustees. Thank you for this opportunity for me to pray for our school district. Our Heavenly Father, Creator of the universe, I humbly come here to you to first thank you for raising up Trustee Mary Ellen Cusella and Trustee Morgan Calhoun to speak against the Pride event, whose performances and activities are not pleasant in your eyes and inappropriate for children of all ages. Lord, please send the guardian angels to be with these two courageous trustees and all the other ones who voted for placing 10 Commandments in KSD classrooms. Blessed are your hearts. You are the angels who are protecting the children of our school district. Lord, you are the way, the truth, and the life. May you send Holy Spirit to touch each and every one of us heart in this room so we can all know the truth sooner or later. You are a merciful God, but you're also the God of righteousness and judgment. I pray that we all repent and ask for your forgiveness of sin before it's too late. As you are the only and final solution to all our difficulties, weaknesses, and problems.
Thank you. Nancy Eddy, followed by Heather Tollison. Nancy Eddy, followed by Heather Tollison. Miss Eddy? No, Miss Eddy? Then we'll Heather Tollison, followed by David Jiang.
My daughter didn't have enough time, so I'm going to finish. Under Texas Education Code 11.1511B, trustees are explicitly required to promote a positive climate for learning and ensure compliance with all applicable laws and policy. Publicly targeting a segment of the community, particularly one that includes district families and students, violates this statutory duty and undermines the fundamental trust between district and those it serves. Faith should never be a weapon to wound or divide. It should call us to love, empathy, and justice. When trustees invoke the name of God to justify exclusion or intolerance, they misuse both their platform and their principles they claim to represent. That misuse is not just morally indefensible, it is a potential violation of the Establishment Clause, Title IX, of federal civil rights protection against discrimination based on gender identity and sexual orientation. You, board, are now facing a defining moment of silence and inaction, which will signal complicity, or you can choose to be accountable and hold them accountable. I urge this board to take the following immediate actions. Issue a formal public statement reaffirming Katy ISD's commitment to inclusion, equality, and the protection of all students and families without exception. Number 2, conduct an ethics policy review of trustees Calhoun and Kuzella, public communication to determine whether they have violated district policy, Texas Education Code, or state ethics standards. Require comprehensive constitutional diversity and inclusion training for all trustees and district leadership.
Thank you. David Jiang, followed by Bill Wallace.
Opportunity to speak. I would like to thank Trustee Mary Ellen Kozela and Morgan Cohen for speaking out against Katy Pride event that was planned at Typhoon, Texas. The activity and performance associated with that event was clearly inappropriate to children. And it took tremendous courage to stand up for what is right and to protect our students. We are so blessed to have both of you serving at this board for over 100,000 students in Katy area. Thank you so much, Miss Mary Ellen and Miss Gold Morgan. We all support you. And I would also like to express my gratitude to this board for supporting the placement of 10 Commandments in our classroom. By allowing our students to see the 10 Commandments on a daily basis, you are affirming that education is not only about academic knowledge, but also about character and worldview building. The 10 Commandments offer our students clear moral guidance to distinguish right from wrong, anchor them in principles that endure enduring the truth and true. Thank you, all of you, for your leadership, and thank you for your commitment to raise a generation.
Thank you. Bill Wallace, followed by Claudia Turcotte. Bill Wallace, W-A-L-L-E-S, there he is. Followed by Claudia Turcotte, and then the final speaker after Ms. Turcotte will be Neil Stratton.
Thank you very much for allowing me a few seconds here. My name is Bill Wallace. I'm a pastor. I'm here tonight to thank Morgan Calhoun and all you ladies or men who have stood with her. I want to thank you for loving this community and Jesus Christ enough to stand for the truth of God's Word. I want to say to you that you have sown much good seed, and you will reap a great harvest. The next thing I want to address is some of your pastors. I want to address some pastors in Katy, Texas. To the pastors who chose not to be here tonight because of a lack of courage or fear of controversy, I say this to you. If you choose not to get into this battle, Katy, Texas is going to experience a level of depravity that hasn't been seen since Sodom and Gomorrah.
Thank you. Ms. Claudia Turcotte, followed by Neil Stratton. Mr. Wallace, your time is up. We thank you for being here tonight. Ms. Claudia Turcotte, followed by Neil Stratton.
Good evening. Trustees Kuzella and Calhoun, thank you for having the courage to speak up about the Katy Pride event. You are willing to sacrifice your own comfort for the sake of vulnerable children. We need more of that from our leaders. Many of the people in the Pride event are likely well-meaning with good intentions, so I don't fault them for doing what in their eyes seems harmless. However, we Christians know that children and drag queens, transgenderism, and adult sexual preferences do not mix. So I asked myself, why didn't everybody on the board speak up? I'm pretty sure all of you profess to be Christians. Christ said, I know your works. You're neither cold nor hot. So because you're lukewarm, I'm about to spit you out of my mouth. As believers, we should fear the wrath of God, not man. I've often wondered if the heaviest millstones are not reserved for those who know better but do nothing. To whom much is given, much is required. Ms. Kuzella and Ms. Calhoun, your dedication to truth and goodness is inspiring. And I'm hearing a lot of chatter behind me about there is no love. I can tell you that the definition of love is willing the good of another. And without truth, you cannot have love. And without love, you cannot have truth. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final speaker tonight will be Neil Stratton.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. I voted for Ms. Calhoun and Ms. Kuzella for one reason, because I knew they would stand up for the children of Katy ISD. They were doing just that with their actions. I hope everyone can hear me. Katy Pride chooses to have a presence at Typhoon, Texas for one reason. That's to influence the children of Katy with their lifestyles. There are millions of other places they could celebrate their organization. Ms. Kuzella and Ms. Calhoun deserve commendation, not censure, for their actions. I wish we had more members of Katy ISD School Board who acted as they acted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Ms.
point of order. I know that Ms. Kelly Hamilton, our second speaker, I believe, she referenced that she gave us some paperwork, and I didn't get it. Is there any way we could get that? Oh, okay, got it. Okay, great. And then I had one other item I wanted to share, because a speaker made a reference about a conversation that Trustee Champagne and I made last week. There were 98 speakers at the August 28th meeting. 98 speakers signed up. 41 of them, I did the work, 41 speakers were not in Katy ISD or had no public record of that speaker associated with that address. So 41 of the 98 signed up. 12 speakers didn't even show up. A multitude of form emails were blanketed into our email, and most of those were received from out of the state. I don't have an exact number of that because those emails have been archived. But when you take all of those numbers together, yes, my statement was true. A vast majority of the speakers were not in Katy ISD or did not have any public record of them living in Katy ISD. So that is important that the public know that. And in my last comment is, in 2025, in the legislative session, Texas made this policy, our policy, law, providing that the majority of Texas citizens support this policy. So I don't agree with what you said respectfully, Trustee Champagne. You are wrong. The majority of people were not in our district.
So factual response, not a point of order, right? You wanted a factual response?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. This concludes the open forum portion of our meeting. The board will now convene in closed meeting as authorized under Section 551.001 of the Texas Government Code for the following purposes: Texas Government Code 551.071, 551.074, 551.076, and 551.129. Thank you.
supported in their areas of expertise. We also have schools that are identified to work through this process in collaboration with central office. Identified schools are assigned a support team that includes assistant superintendent, principal, the campus leadership team, the school improvement team, C&I team, and if appropriate, we also include OIL, SPED, and the intervention team as well. There are 3 meetings in the fall to not only discuss their focus area and data, but to also walk classrooms and support leadership teams on how to coach each other and teachers. We enjoy getting to see the teachers in action and being part of this implementation plan. In the spring, we have 1 additional meeting to discuss MAP accountability predictions, review supports, and address any barriers that still exist. Campus visits are for the identified school, but we also have opportunities throughout the year for all participating schools to meet and collaborate about their work and their implementation plans. At this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Board, any questions?
Mr. President?
Ms. Cozzella.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Appreciate it. I wanted to ask, and please help me out here. Usually when we see academic reports and outcomes, it's at a quite high level, which I understand. And I know how you guys tease it down to a very minute level. A lot of times I hear the public say, well, what about all the Title I schools? You know, where you know, they're not succeeding, or how did they grow? And do we have a report that the board can see periodically of that segment of the population of our school, so that we can constructively work as a board for academic outcomes and support your efforts? Because I see, I mean, there's such great success, but I know there's parts of our district that are drowned out by that success, and I don't see that, or I don't feel like I see that. Do you have a recommendation for me, or is there a report that could be given so that we can see more of the minutia? Sure. Where it needs help, and discuss how the board can support that?
Sure. The data can be run in many, many ways. And so by ratings, if we're talking about state accountability, absolutely. We can also put an asterisk by schools that are Title I, so you know automatically which ones are Title I. That kind of helps just pull it out to a different level.
Right, yeah, like the Title I schools, that'd be great to be able to track.
Isolated? Or
yes,
do you want to...
isolated. Okay. I want to see isolation of where we have things where we're trying to work on the growth of the outcome.
I typically like to, I can isolate Title I schools, but I do like to show the longitudinal so you can see year after year the yes. ratings, and not just a letter grade, but a number grade as well. But also keep in mind that there are different domains in the system, and so sometimes you'll see growth in one domain. You may not see it overall. So we can do it in both ways, where it's just a high level overall, but then the domains included so you can see a little bit more detail.
That would be fabulous. So I can have a perspective of where in the district we need to help out. And you know, I've read a lot about the Mississippi Miracle, and if people understand, with literacy. And so I think they focused on like a 4th grade literacy level. That's part of that Mississippi Miracle, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. Sounds funny, but they achieved quite high success with where they were. And they focused on the 4th grade literacy rate, I believe. Do we have do we watch 4th grade literacy reading?
So House Bill 3 is more about 3rd grade. So in our state, that's where we watch that piece. But I would say our teams watch all grade levels. But the House Bill 3 is what you're going to see when we pull out a specific one.
Okay. I know we are obliged to do that because that's how the state defined it. Maybe there's something else we could do on top of that. To be discussed. The high schools, I had a question from a constituent who was used to seeing I think this applies, the campus profiles for high schools that are given that accompany transcripts when they're sent out for high school students. Do you know what I'm talking? It's called a high school profile. And they were wanting to see a certain range from 2019 to 2025 to current to kind of see the growth or what has changed. Is that public information all years?
Ms. Casella, we update the campus profiles for all 10 of the high schools every year. With the data from the previous year, courses that they're offering, and yes, that's been a process every year, so we would be able to pull those from each year.
They should be able to get that from any year that they need.
I'd have to check to see if they're active on the website previous years, but of course they all have a deadline that they have to have their profile updated for this year so that it goes with the transcripts when they're sent to colleges.
Okay, but prior years should be on record somewhere.
I'll check on that.
Website, and it's public information.
Yes.
Okay, and just for the public to know, that's like the profile of a school. It's got STAR performance, SAT, ACT, demographics and performance. It's a nice resume of the high school per year. So
they all use the same template.
So I would like to have that 2019 to 2025 campus high school profiles for our wonderful high schools. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Ms. Fox.
Dr. Martinez, thank you for the presentation. Could you go to slide 6, please? One more back. That one?
This one?
Nope. Yes, that one.
Numbers are
Common
different than
language
yours.
and expectations, that one.
This one?
So I'm very fortunate to be on the academic committee last year with Mr. Redmond, this year with Mr. Cross. And so I get to speak with you and Dr. Bell and Dr. Caskey at length about what you all do and how you do it and how you reach every child and in every campus, you know, those who are very successful and those who are on the road to being very successful. So when we see something like this and it's just a quick, like, okay, but the amount, I just want to call attention to the amount of information in each one of those bullets, the amount of things that happen, differentiated resources, quality questions in small groups. So as I'm on my walking tours of the my assigned campuses, and I go classroom to classroom, wherever the principal wants to take me, and I just walk through a classroom, they don't know I'm coming. I like it that way, and principals do too. And you just walk in and you'll see a teacher working with a small group, 3 or 4 at a time, and in every corner of the room, small groups of children with an activity, with an assignment working. They love to sit on the floor, they love to sit on bean bags, all those things, but they're working with each other. And the manipulatives they have, the assignments they have, it's not just, oh, go find something. No, it's very intentional. And that's my word this year, is intentionality. Seeing it every classroom, every teacher, every school as you walk through. I said, my jaw is tired from hitting the floor and my heart is too full, I can't keep it all in. And my face is tired from smiling at seeing all of this happening. And meanwhile, there's the data, you're gathering data and your group is helping and supplying all of that and how to help. Will you go up another one, maybe? That 5 systems, I wrote that down. That 5 systems for successful implementation. There's lots of ways of implementing something, but if it doesn't get you to your result, and you talk to us about what that looks like and how to get there. And it's, you know, okay, 5 systems, there they are, just bing, bing, bing. Okay, those look great. And you read it and you're like, okay. But that's not easy. That is very specific. Lots of data built in there, lots of things that you're looking for when your group goes in and you just observe. You're looking for something different than what Dr. Bell's group is looking for, which Dr. Caskey's group is looking for. It's complicated, and it's specific, and it's targeted, the wrong word, but it's targeted toward the success of the successful implementation. And so it's not just students, it's teachers, it's paras, it's special ed. And the next one, I'm almost finished. I'm almost to the last slide. Mr. Redmond, just give me a minute. This one on page 8, the next one, just, again, it's just a whole bunch of words on a page and you read through them and go, sure. But the Office of Other Languages at OOL, SPED, intervention, every one of those is a different team with specific outcomes they're looking for. And, right, Mr. Cross, 6 specific things that they implement. And everybody coming together it's just fascinating to me, and the more I know about it, the more I see when I'm actually witnessing it. I put a lot of pictures on my social media to share with the community and say, I wish you could come with me, but since you can't, here's what I see, and then here's the intentionality. Here's a small group. These were kindergartners reading sentences off of the projector on the wall, whatever that's called, smartboard, probably. And they were reading. I was like, I looked at them and said, is this first grade? No, it's kindergarten. We can read. And it was just so, and their word for the day when they're talking about emotions was surprised. And I was like, Mrs. Fox was surprised that you could read by yourselves, right? And full, just precious. And yet, all the intentionality. And the teacher had a way of congratulating them that was quick, easy. They knew what the thing was, that they pat yourself on the head or whatever, and then right to the next thing. There are no wasted minutes. I just want our people to know this is not look at that. They learned to read. We got it done. Not every day is probably as successful as what they wish. And I know teachers are never satisfied. They always think of the one more thing they could do, or wish this one, I need to do more here. And so I just wanted to talk about that, the goals and strategies, the observations, the data that you put together and the data that Mrs. Kuzella asked for, it's all there. And we have it for every campus, and you're looking for growth and improvement and tweaking just the littlest thing. And I love what you said, data on what's going well and where it needs a tweak or two, and the support that they have to do that. I continue to be impressed, surprised, and delighted, and so stinking proud of our district. So,
thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Redmond.
Mr. President?
Ms. Champagne.
All right. Thank you for your presentation. I'm going to try to be kind of short, but I did want to say something about the academic committee. Well, first I was going to back up. So before, there was a couple of trustees that came in 2020. They were elected in November that year. And in January, it was Leah Peters and Greg Schulte. January, what we used to get was this huge long report of like 500 pages. And I remember they said that they read the whole thing and they don't know why they have to read it. And what are they trying to memorize? And then not long after that, we had an academic committee, maybe when Mr. Perez was here, and said that, okay, let's just consolidate the information. And then that was good. And then I thought there was a link on something that, that anyone could go. Can anyone go to it?
We still have those.
Okay. And then, Mrs. Kuzella, maybe that information is on that link that you're looking for. It's a link with those 500 pages of stuff. And is that right, Dr. Kasky? So there is a link that they could go and research that too. Okay.
I just want to be able to monitor that on a regular basis from the board's perspective and know how does that translate to what we're doing and what we can do for that.
I hear you. But I'm just saying you can do that and you can look at that link and you could find the information and you could go back in time probably and compare it and all that. The other thing I wanted to add was the 2019-20 that you wanted the information from 2019. I think that's interesting. I wonder why, and it's okay. But just because we all know this, that 2019-2020 ended up being a terrible school year, and then that you had the 2020-2021. We were in COVID, so I will never forget this. The comparison of the 2018-2019 school year to the 2020-2021 school year was so bad, but not with that, just with us across the nation. So if you look at just the 2018-2019 school year, and then you compare it to, let's say, 2021-2022, it's kind of not fair because it's like we had to restart over again almost in a lot of ways. Do you agree with that? I mean, it was digging out of a hole kind of a thing. I would say for any comparative data, it's always about the story behind the numbers, so that the numbers are what they are. But digging into why the numbers are that way is extremely important. So
Looking at it before COVID and after COVID, you know the story.
Mhm.
The numbers are still valid.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out that, I mean, I think it's fair for anyone to want to look at information, but like you said, we just have to be realistic about why numbers were the way they were and why they are I think COVID was a terrible thing, and I think we're just now, I don't know how it is, but I think we're just now getting to that, back to that, where we were so like gravy, back in 2018, 2019 school year. And I think that's it. So I appreciate your presentation, and I agree with Mrs. Fox that it's fun to see the kids and teachers working together and doing great things out in our district.
Mr. President, I do have one question for Dr. Martinez.
Ms. Fox?
Do you have the support you need from the board to reach all of the students with the approach that you have outlined here? And if you don't, you would come and ask us for it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments, board? Thank you very much. We'll now move on. We'll now move on to item 7.2, Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Report, presented with Chris Smith, our Chief Financial Officer, and Nathan Fuchs, our Senior Executive Director of Operations.
Well, good evening, President Redmond, Superintendent Dr. Gorski, and trustees. Tonight we are going to do I would call it a wrap-up, if you will, of the Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone, or the TIRZ. This can also be called in some communities a tax increment financing, or a TIF. We call it a TIRZ, a Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone in Katy. Of course, this all started in 1999, prior to me coming to Katy, and probably prior to Nathan graduating junior high. But we're here to kind of bring it home
We're the
tonight.
same age, by the way.
With a summary of what the TIRZ is. And the TIRZ, again, was established, in 1998 as a tri-party agreement between the City of Katy, Katy ISD, and the Katy Development Authority. And basically what it did is it provided a mechanism to sell tax-exempt bonds through the Katy Development Authority of $25.6 million that built our next-door neighbor here, the Leonard Merrill Center. Okay, so that built and established it with those bond proceeds. And again, those were issued back in 2002. The construction of the multi-purpose center was done with that, and it was used. And those, excuse me, I'm tongue-tied. I'm getting ahead of myself. I apologize. This is the TIRZ, the zone. That's about 430 acres there. You may recognize that kidney-shaped or that bean-shaped deal in the middle. That's Katy Mills Mall. Fort Bend County would be that line you see on the right. That's the division of Harris County, so anything to the mall side of it is Fort Bend County. It's Harris County to the other side of it. Then you can see the Pin Oak area, where it's I guess it's the bottom part of that slide. You can see the golf course there on the bottom part of that slide, and it moves up along Pin Oak along the side, and then grabs what I would call CC Pizza and Popeyes Chicken, et cetera, on up to I-10. That's the zone. That zone is connected to two pieces of property of Katy ISD. It follows the roadways that goes up to the Danover place on Danover Street, which was the old Kilpatrick Elementary. It's just a half a dozen or so very nice oak trees and a lot. And then the building, the facility that Katy High School and we are sitting on, essentially this entire complex is part of the TIRZ. And so the monies, the proceeds of the bonds, although it was built on this site, this whole agreement that we were speaking of, and what I'm going to speak to in a minute, the funds could be spent at one of those two sites, anywhere on this piece of property or on that Danover site. The TIRZ, the part inside that boundary was to establish a tax base to pay the bonds back. And so the bonds of $25 million were issued, and the taxes from that over the last 22 years have been used to pay those bonds. Essentially what happens is when the tax bills go out, we collect those dollars from in there. From an accounting standpoint, we load those on our general ledger or recognize those as revenues to the general fund. At the end of that fiscal year, we put a liability due to other governments of the amount of the amount of those taxes that were brought in. We send it in March of the following year to the Katy Development Authority. They pay the bonds and any expenses associated with those bonds, and then they send the money back to us. Okay? That money coming back to us is essentially what we're going to talk about, what I'm talking about tonight when I talk about the dollar amounts. We've received $36.6 million in tax collections in excess of the bond payments related to paying back the principal and interest on that facility next door, or the waterfall. $36.6 million have come back to us. And then over that time, we've earned $2.2 million in interest. So that's kind of how the TERS has worked. I will say that there was a time where the value of the TERS, which is about, I think the last I saw, about $430 million. That's all the property, the taxable value within inside that zone that I showed you earlier. It's about $430 million. That value, in large part, has also not been recognized from a state funding standpoint. So over the years, it's been a good investment, a good agreement that Katy ISD got in back in the time. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Fuchs.
So we wanted to kind of give you a little example of past projects that we've done over TERS, with TERS expenditures. Here at the ESC, various office renovations, moving down some over at what we call the HR building. That when we bought that from Brazos Valley Credit Union, we went in and did a renovation to get it up to kind of our standards and make it usable. If you remember, right across the parking lot over here, used to be the old show arena for CTE. Now it's the new Martha Key Center. Moving down, Katy High School synthetic turf. The original turf that went in back in 2010 was paid for out of TERS dollars as well. Next slide just shows you kind of a recap sheet of TERS projects. That's something that goes out monthly. And if you look at the very bottom right now, we're showing a little over $17 million currently in TERS funding that's available. So what kind of projects are we looking at moving forward in the future? What we look at are components that have reached the end of their life cycles, no different than what's in our current bond election, like roofs and chillers and so on. And then looking at that, what projects will save us by doing out of our GOF, for instance, lighting projects. To do a lighting project here in the Merrill Center, we're looking at probably saving roughly about $100,000 a year out of our GOF just by doing a lighting project. So that's the kind of approach we're taking. Our emergency generator here, we have currently catastrophic failure. We're in the process of replacing that, but that would be something high on the list that we're going to be moving forward with. New roof and building envelope, same kind of format or concept of moving forward, looking at efficiencies. How can we improve efficiencies throughout these two buildings? Display boards in the Merrill Center and 1200 room, they've kind of reached the end of their life cycle. They need to be replaced. And then turf placement for Katy High School again. It was done back and resurfaced in 2018. It's going to be due, pretty quick to get resurfaced. So it's not a favorable item to put in a bond election. So it's one of the things we want to take a look at. And then in closing, really just what the funding enables us to do. It enables for Katy ISD to reinvest in critical infrastructure while reducing the burden on our general operating fund.
And I want to just follow up what Mr. Fuchs said on the emergency generator. That failed late last month, and we have ordered through his budget. We've ordered the emergency replacement of that of about $500,000. That handicaps a budget that's been fresh in the month of September, and so what I am going to be doing, recommended to the superintendent, is bringing a budget amendment next month to allow us to use TERS funding to pay for that, since it's on this facility. It was not expected to have the catastrophic failure, and it is a life safety thing. That way it replenishes his budget, so the things that he did plan on doing with that budget he's able to do. This is an AI-generated thing. I'm kind of proud of it because I'm not that good with that kind of thing. But I did think it was fitting that this whole TERS process that began in 1998, although it's in its sunset and there's not going to be much of it. And by the way, at Note 10 of our annual comprehensive financial reports speaks about this in detail. If you ever want to learn a lot more detail than I covered tonight, it's in Note 10 or our debt note of our financial statements. Won't be there long because of that sunset. But the fruit on the tree is there is still some money associated with it we can spend. And the good news is it doesn't compete for maintenance and operations dollars for salaries for the people of this district that deserve as much salaries as we can give them. It does allow us to not ask the bond payers to pay for things that the taxpayers to pay for things through bonds that we don't have to issue for these type of things that Mr. Fuchs has explained to you and that may be out there on the horizon to spend.
Thank you. Board, any questions?
Mr. President?
Ms. Teamy.
Thank you for going over this again. We talked about this in our finance committee, and I thought y'all brought up a good point about why an emergency generator was so important. Do you mind going over that, giving a little more details about why that's important? I think the public would enjoy hearing that.
Sure. So the emergency generator, when the power goes down, it provides backup power, more or less. The backup power feeds the kitchen freezer coolers. It feeds the PA system. It feeds the fire alarm panels, what we call life safety type of equipment. We're also going to look at redoing the circuits in this room when we have board meetings to where if the power goes out, everything stays up and running. So really all the life safety equipment runs on the emergency generator when the power goes out.
Okay, so when we were in our meeting, we were talking specifically about how it would be good for the Merrill Center.
So the Merrill Center has its own generator that was replaced several years back, but they're on two separate generators.
Okay. That's not what I understood. Okay.
That's probably because you heard it from the B team here. My bad.
Okay.
I assumed it was one. I didn't know.
Okay. Okay. My second question is, when did we replace the generator then for the Merrill Center?
I want to say 5 years or so ago. Don't quote me on that, but it's somewhere in that vicinity, okay. I would say.
And how long do they usually last?
We try to proactively replace them about every 20 years.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the 17+ million that we have left in that TERS fund, is there a stipulation on you have to spend that money X amount by a certain time, or is that just
ours, yours as a trustees to spend as we deem necessary. I don't know if it could be kept out there forever. Okay. Again, if there's money that needs to be spent on this somewhere on this lot or the other lot. You can avoid dollars by spending this.
Okay, I just didn't know if it was like the federal funds that we're using to redo some of our kitchens.
To my knowledge, there is no deadline at all.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for the details.
Mr. President?
Ms. Gazella.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you did a presentation on TERS. It's such a mysterious, creative little deal there that a lot of people may not really understand, and I'm still learning. So I think that's great that the public gets to have exposure to that. I'm glad it's on the agenda. So just a few basic questions. I have to say, I've not heard of KDA. I'm used to Katy Economic Development Council. Is this some other entity?
I don't know the details of it. It is described in Note 10 in details, but essentially it was developed for this purpose, this tri-party agreement, the Katy Development Authority, and it was only done to do some infrastructure out at that facility, at that 476 acres, and for this transaction. And I'm not sure what its fate is after Katy ISD's involvement. I'm not sure what that
Okay, so it was an agreement, just to be clear, KDA, you said, back in the 90s, this is not you, but someone with a master plan here created the KDA. It sounds like a legal entity or something. I don't know. I'll go check it out.
Yes.
With the city of Katy as a separate entity and the school district. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes. That is
City
correct.
of Katy is a separate partner in this. KDA is someone else and the district.
It was structured like that in order to apply by the rules of the state, which allowed this type of incremental financing to happen.
Okay.
And so that was kind of dictated to us by the rules of the game.
Of the state at the time.
Yes.
Okay, and then, thank you. And there will be no other future TERS. Is that correct? This is old business, right? As far as law?
This is old business. In March of 25, we paid the last liability we had with them, and have we received the waterfall back, Kayla? And we have received that back. So as far as we know, there's no more financial transactions to happen between the district and the KDA. Time will tell, because this is our first time to sunset a TERS as well. But we don't think there are any transactions at all left. If they are, it'll be extremely minor.
Thank you. And that's for this TERS. I was curious, this is just on my ignorance, I don't know if there would be a future new tax reinvestment zone. That's no longer a possibility, correct?
I think it is.
It
I
is?
think the ability for it to be an incentive for a school district, I think that's all gone, as I understand it. So if there were someone that approached the district about entering into a new TERS, there probably would not be the financial benefit that we were able to receive on the particular arrangement that's sunsetting. That is no longer available, as I understand it. Now, I'm not an expert in TERS, but as I understand it, they're very difficult for school districts to justify that type of arrangement. There's no incentive.
Okay. Thank you. I'll look into it too. And the Danover property is such a interesting little piece of boundary there out of the middle of nowhere. I don't know what went on with that. I know you weren't involved with that, but have we invested in that piece of property with TERS? Would we ever see any money going towards that?
When that
Interesting.
the Danover facility or the old Kilpatrick Elementary was raised, that was done with general fund dollars, not TERS dollars. It was raised with general fund dollars. But as far as I know, and recall, there's been no money, no TERS dollars spent on that piece of property. If there were, they would be on that report and on the detailed report in your financial statements. And I don't think there is.
Okay. I mean, I haven't been on the board that long, but I was
Can't
curious.
remember it all, but I don't think there is.
Okay. And it is important. I love the way you stated that the public understand we should never really see any bond projects for Katy High School, Leonard Merrill Center, or the ESC for now in the short term, unless there's some big gargantuan piece. We should never see it as a bond project.
Well,
because we've got TERS, right?
I don't know if I ever said never see, but we don't have to see some of those projects within that amount. So when the roof goes on this building and it starts raining in here, this is the administration building. My gosh. Well, we could have a resource to pay for that.
Yeah.
Whereas not having to go to the voters for a roof for this building.
Yeah.
But we have used bond funds for the additional the construction that's going on right now at Katy High School. Many different projects have used regular bond funds, but TERS can be used.
Okay. And that's driven by the price tag, I guess, maybe, or
by the price tag and the
use or
type
not.
of project. I mean, again.
Okay. And type of project. Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Ms. Fox.
Thank you for the presentation. I remember when this all started, and it was very controversial, like associated with the mall and the mall coming here and all the things and all of that. But what a blessing it's been for our school district and for the city of Katy as all of that development happened and grew up, that we had an additional source of revenue in conjunction and work with the city of Katy. KDA is the Katy Developmental Authority, and Skip Connor is the chair. And we've had lots of talks about this on Friday mornings, Ms. Kuzella. So when you see him, he's the keeper of all knowledge when it comes to this. And we talk about all the time how sad it is that it's going away, and how, can it ever, could we extend it, and can it be extended? And so I'd love to have another one, but like you said, very complicated, has to be very specific, those types of, it's not lined up that looks like there will be another, but it certainly has been a great thing to watch and to be a part of. And answer to your question, Mrs. Kuzella, some of the things that have happened at Katy High School have been so very expensive, right? Like the renovations and the add-ons, and like Chromebooks probably came out of bonds as we went through everything else. But this is more like emergency things or something specific that came up that was specific to our building or their building that wasn't like blanketed in all the schools throughout the community. So I remember when it was like 27 years and I thought, oh my lands, that's forever. I was like, that is a very long time, and here we are, done.
Y'all did a great job explaining it. Board, any other questions?
I like the AI picture, the sun setting on the tree.
Thank you. We'll now move on to item 8, public hearing. First, a presentation of the district's rating on the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas first, and then we will move on to receive public input on that.
Good evening. Good evening, President Redmond, trustees, and Dr. Gregorski. We're going to show you Schools First today. Schools First is the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas. It was adopted also in 1999 by the state legislature. It's a statewide accountability system for school finance. And this is the 23rd time this board has heard this Schools First presentation. The first rating is designed to encourage public schools to better manage their financial resources to provide the maximum allocation possible to direct instructional purposes. There are 21 indicators we'll go over as quickly as possible. Many of these are specifically relevant to the public and finance industry, and several of them have sliding scales between 0 and 10 points, and we'll go over each of these as we go through the indicators. Each district receives a letter grade based on a numeric score, with A being the highest score a district can receive. This year's first rating is based on the audit that was presented to this board in January of 2025, and it was based on the 2023-2024 school year. So indicator 1 is the simplest indicator. It was your annual financial report filed by the deadline. And yes, it was. We filed it on January 27th, 2025, the day after this board saw the financial report. Indicator 2 asks, did the district receive a clean or unmodified audit opinion on the financial statements as a whole? This was determined by our external independent auditor, and yes, we received an unmodified opinion on our financial report. Indicator 3 confirms that the district has made all required bond or debt payments, and yes, Katy ISD has made all of its required payments. Indicator 4 confirms that the district fulfilled its obligation to governmental agencies such as TRS, Texas Workforce Commission, and the IRS for payroll withholdings, contributions, and has fulfilled any payroll-related obligations required by the district. And yes, the district has fulfilled all of these obligations. Indicator 5 was re-implemented last year after 5 years of not being scored. There were a few adjustments made, and it was re-implemented to account for changes implemented by GASB or Governmental Accounting Standards Board regarding pension liabilities. This indicator, this is a long one, confirms that the district has a positive net position, and yes, the district passed this indicator. Indicator 6 measures the percentage in change in fund balance to see whether or not the fund balance is declining too quickly, and if it is declining, whether the sufficient fund balance remains to operate for at least 75 days. The district's average change in fund balance over 3 years was a 6.7% increase because of our growing enrollment, and there was not a decrease. And because it was an increase, the district automatically passes this indicator. Indicator 7 measures how long, in days after the end of the fiscal year, the district could have dispersed funds for its operating expenditures without receiving any new revenues. Katy ISD scored the maximum 10 points for exceeding 90 days of cash on hand. In fact, Katy had 131 days of cash on hand as of August 31st, 2024. Now, I'm going to pass this presentation over to Mrs. Smith, and I just want to comment that Mrs. Smith did the lion's share of all the calculations and all of the math behind presenting or submitting this first report.
Indicator 8 measures whether the school district had sufficient short-term assets at the end of the fiscal year to pay off its short-term liabilities, and the district received the maximum number of points for this indicator. Indicator 9 simply asks, did you spend more than you earned? And the district will automatically pass this indicator if the school district had at least 60 days cash on hand. And as stated by Mr. Hines on Indicator 7, the district had 131.8 days of cash on hand, and therefore we received the maximum number of points for this indicator. Indicator 10 measures how accurately the district forecasted revenue by comparing budgeted revenue to actual revenue. And this indicator is not currently being scored by TEA. However, we continue to monitor and meet this threshold. Indicator 11 recognizes that high-growth districts incur additional operating costs to open new instructional campuses, and the district receives full credit for this indicator by exceeding 7% growth in students in the last 5 years. Katy ISD actually grew 14% during that time frame, giving the district all 10 points for this indicator. Indicator 12 asks about the school district's ability to make debt payments, and the district received 8 out of the 10 possible points, which is common for fast growth school districts. And this indicator does not have an allowance for student growth as the prior indicator did. Indicator 13 measures the percentage of district's budget that is spent on administration. And although the districts our size are allowed administrative cost ratios of 8.55% to receive full credit for this indicator, Katy's is one of the lowest in the state at 4.04%, and this means that Katy is able to put more money directly into the classroom. Indicator 14 is meant to track if a declining enrollment school district is also decreasing its staff proportionately. And if a school district increases in enrollment, the district automatically passes this indicator, so Katy ISD passed this indicator. Indicator 15 measures how well the district was able to project average daily attendance for the coming biennium for payment purposes, and projected ADA is compared to actual, and the district received all possible points for this indicator with an extremely small variance of only 0.004%, so we passed this indicator. Indicator 16 measures the quality of data reported to PEEMS and in the ACFR to make certain that the data submitted by the district to the state is the same in both of these submissions, and there is a difference of only $650 on reported of over $1 billion in expenditures, and so the $650 variance was just the result of rounding differences between the two reporting frameworks, and so the district passed this indicator. Indicator 17 asks if the district's independent external auditors found any material weaknesses in internal controls, and they have found none. An internal control weakness would create risk for your district of not being able to properly account for its use of public funds, and that would need to be addressed immediately. But Katy ISD passed this indicator. Indicator 18 measures whether the district is complying with laws, rules, and regulations related to the expenditure of grant funds, contracts, and other state and federal funds, and the district received all possible points for this indicator. Indicator 19 measures whether the district is complying with legal requirements related to financial transparency by posting all required information, and the district is fully compliant with all postings. And I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Hines now.
Indicator 20 confirms whether the school board has had the opportunity to discuss and consider the finances of the district as they relate to property value and funding changes. The answer is yes. As you all know, Mr. Smith has presented on and discussed state funding and property values many times with this board leading up to the adoption of your budget. Indicator 21 was introduced last year and ensures the district hasn't asked TEA for an adjusted repayment schedule in consecutive years for an overpayment of foundation school program funds due to financial hardship. The answer to this question is no. The district has never needed an adjustment, meaning the district passes this indicator. And I'm proud to say that Katy ISD received 98 of 100 possible points on TEA's first rating, which equates to an A or a superior rating for the 23rd year in a row. In addition to this presentation, you have a packet available with the historical first ratings. Along with that are some required disclosures that are required for first, including expenses incurred and reimbursements by the board members who served during the 23-24 school year, as well as any outside compensation and gifts received by the board or the superintendent. There were none. It also contains any business transactions. Had anyone on the board owned a business and done business with the school district, they would have been required to disclose that, and again, there were none. This concludes this presentation of Katy ISD's first rating. Thank you, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, board. Are there any questions?
Yes, Mr. President?
Ms. Champagne.
I just want to really give a lot of kudos to y'all's department. You have a 98, and that's a superior rating. And I do have a question to follow up with it, but, well, two questions. So how many years, the first question, how many years in a row have we had this? Because I want you to be able to brag about that.
First off, it's the whole department and,
Right.
and the district as a whole working together. But 23 years now for
Wow.
an A rating. Yes, ma'am.
That is so awesome. But the other thing I wanted to ask you about that was, what do we get for having such a good rating?
Well, much like accountability, we don't get anything. It's a measure of how well we're doing and essentially how well we're putting our resources, our financial resources, toward an instruction and putting it into the classroom. That's really what it's all about. And the higher your rating, the better you're doing at that.
But
I would say it goes hand in hand also with the type of things that the credit rating agencies are looking at. Different format, Schools First credit rating, but they look at the same type of indicators to look at our finances, and we maintain a great underlying rating, and it saves lots of interest because we have a better rating. So there is some benefits to it, not necessarily with First, but having good indicators when it comes to financials, especially in a fast growth district, it helps reduce our interest costs or keep our interest costs down because of our borrowing needs.
And that's so important, but I have one more. Now you led me to another one. Is there any other school district in Texas that compares to us, having 23 years in a row? I'm just curious.
I would say a lot of them do. A lot of districts do. Some of this pretty. I don't want to say low standards. Some of it is in a district with the kind of expectations that our superintendent and our board has of my department and for the entire staff is part of this. Not just my department, but really the principals. Anybody that's a budget manager has a role in this. But the expectations are based on what it is. Some of them are pretty easy for us. Some of them are difficult for us. It goes back to we're a fast growth school district. We were the fastest growing school district in the state through the 24-25 school year. And that's hard to do, to keep some of these ratings when you have that kind of needs from a growth standpoint, both on the general fund and the debt service fund.
And to be only $650 off on over $1 billion budget, that is, to me, crazy. I'm probably off that much every month. My very low budget. That doesn't make my husband very happy, but anyway, I really admire that. That is really outstanding. Thank you for y'all's work on that.
Ms. Gazelle?
Mr. President. Thank you very much. You mentioned that part of the report, so all board members received this. Thank you very much. I did look through it, and I noticed, and you mentioned it, the reimbursements received by the superintendent and board members for fiscal year 2024 are included here. Is that public record? And is that on our website somewhere? Like, is this report that we see here? And
We do publish this. I don't know if we don't put that on this binder out there. We put the presentation, and it's out there for several years. But this actual package we have not published in the past.
Okay, but if someone were to ask, I mean,
Absolutely,
it's
we
here
give it to them, and it's
for a board
out
member.
there. Of course, it's on our general ledger, which anything on our general ledger is subject to that. But we have not put this PDF out there on the website. Just the presentation that you saw tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, board? No. Well, thank you very much, and I assume we have no one signed up for public input.
That's correct.
All right, then we will move on past 8.2 to our consent agenda. Our consent agenda shall include items that were discussed and considered at the previous work study board meetings, as well as items of a reoccurring nature. The board shall be furnished with background material for each item. Consent agenda items shall be grouped together under one action item. All items shall be acted upon by one vote without separate discussion, unless a board member requests that an item be withdrawn for individual consideration from BE Legal and BE Local. Are there any items that the board members would like to remove from consent agenda tonight? No, then I will now entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
Mr. President,
Ms. Champagne.
I move that the Board of Trustees approves the consent agenda for items 9.1 through 9.9.
Second.
It is moved and seconded that the Board of Trustees approves the consent agenda for items 9.1 through 9.9. We will now proceed to vote. Board members, please record your vote on the screen via your keypad. The motion passes 7-0. We'll now move on to item 10.1, board committee updates. The quick update, our finance committee met 3 weeks ago prior to our work study meeting where we reviewed the first and talked about the TERS. Our policy committee following our work study this past week is scheduled to meet on November 4th. Which we will be discussing the policy we discussed last week, as well as some updates to our local and legal policies that came out of the legislative session. Those are the two things right now that are on that agenda for a policy committee to meet on November 4th. And then Ms. Fox, academic committee met.
Yes, the academic committee met. We covered a lot of things, and you saw the main thing that we talked about that Dr. Martinez presented. And, they bring us a thing called a one-pager, usually that kind of takes all those 500 pages Mrs. Champagne was talking about and breaks it down into small pieces for us to digest and continue to be very impressed with what's happening in our district academically. And on Friday at the State of the District, it was incredible. And that's probably online for everybody to see. Are we guessing that, Dr. Grooms? Is that correct? It's online. It's very impressive. You might think it's lengthy, but really, if you delved into every piece to the depth I wanted to, we probably could have been there all day. But it was very, very impressive, and a lot of the things that are happening, we talk about in that academic committee, things that are coming and how they're working. And the CTE, correct me if I'm wrong with this statistic, 32,000 children are enrolled in CTE programs. That was just one of the astounding statistics that came out. Mr. Cross, did you have some things to add?
Well, that's what I was going to say. It feels like not that long ago we were trying to figure out what are we going to do for those kids who don't want to take off to a four-year college. And that number kept growing over the years and growing. And so the fact that we're really working hard to address that and giving kids different opportunities, it really matters. And again, just the challenges that are existing within our district from all over the place, and just post-COVID, issues. We've got, just the world the way it is, new challenges, technology, AI, and all that stuff. And we've got our folks working really hard on all that stuff and working with campuses, and also, campuses being able to provide back that expertise, which is, to me, what has made Katy such an awesome place over the years, is that, we realize we have a lot of talented folks in this district. Here, obviously, in this building, but also at 80 campuses, and so the fact that we're able to work together really makes a difference. And so to watch that play out in that meeting and get that kind of data and see the work that's being done, just like, yep, keep going, keep doing the work.
All right. Any other things to add to committee meetings or anything, board?
Mr. President, I wonder if, as we talk about the state of the district, if Dr. Gregorski has anything he'd want to add about that. You want to just give us your speech right quick, just a rundown. But like, for example, in that CTE, the slides popped up and it was bing, bing, bing all across that screen, and just scroll after scroll of all the things, the CDL, the real estate, the wastewater management, the auto technique, all of the things. It's just so good to see it's not just the two things anymore, it's all these things.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on with CTE, and like Mr. Cross said down there, we've got probably 30% of our population does not go off to college, okay? So we do need to fill that gap with a lot of opportunities, different things, and we have been increasing. One of the other reasons why we're trying to expand the Miller career, get kids off the wait list, get new programs in there, continue to offer things that are high demand, high wage, high skill programs for those kids. I think sometimes, the great part about talking about CTE is wonderful because we're doing so many things, but sometimes that overshadows all the great work we're doing just in academics, to get those other groups ready for college and career and getting out there and doing different things that way. So sometimes it seems like we take a back seat to that, but I don't ever want to forget about all the great work that's going on our campuses academically to get those kids prepared for life outside after high school, because I tell you, our kids are second to none once they go to college.
Thank you.
Mr. President, since we're now discussing a lot with other committee members, I just want to provide for the public who's listening to make sure and clarify something you did mention, that the policy committee is going to be meeting on the agenda item that was removed from our work study meeting. So the agenda item was removed from today's agenda, and it will be discussed in the policy committee, and that has to do with the proposed changes for board policy FM local that relate to Sundays. So that's now going to be discussed in committee, which involves Mr. Redmond, Ms. Champagne, and I, and whoever else would like to be there from the district staff.
Thank you.
So you know where that's at. Thank you.
Mr. President, my understanding for our process, procedure, policy, wherever it sits, is that something to be removed from the agenda must be removed by someone who asked it to be there. Is that still the way it works?
Correct.
Okay, so someone who added it on asked for it to come off, and then for it to go and work with the policy committee. Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. We'll move on to 10.2, recap of board member request information. Madam Secretary, did we capture any requests from the board?
This is what I have. Mrs. Cusella wants a couple of things that are kind of in the same subject. She wants to see the reports from the Title I schools, and she wants like an isolation of those schools to. Do you want like previous years too on those two to kind of watch the
Yeah, I think Ms. Martinez suggested previous years to see a trend.
Okay, and then did you want to know anything about the fourth grade, the Mississippi, I don't know what you want.
The fourth grade literacy rate, that's an indicator that some people watch. It's involved in what the state of Mississippi did with literacy.
Did you want to see the fourth grade literacy rate?
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool if we have that. I'm not sure what that's an indicator we track.
I don't know.
So I don't want to ask for something we don't track. We just track third grade according to HB3.
All right.
Is what she stated.
So then she also wants the high school profiles for previous years from 2019 to, I guess, last year's school year probably. Is that correct?
Yes.
2024-2025 school year. And also along with that, I was wondering if we can, where is that link? That I know we have that link. What page is that link on? With all the academic stats and stuff like that.
The one-pagers, along with all the quarterly reports, there's a quarterly reporting schedule that my team follows and does that. And you may recall that my assistant, Ms. Alvarez, has now put all of those reports in the board's share folder. So that's where they live now. So all those reports, anything you need, and then that way that's better than me just sending them. Then you got to dig for them later. They're in, yes, through a different email and find those different reports from different years. They'll all be in there from every year as we start dropping those in.
The campus profile, that one pager that goes out with transcripts when kids applied.
No, that's something different. I don't think, unless I misunderstood what Ms. Champagne was
There's
talking
a
about.
link that Dr. Paskey, I think.
It's an academic report that has links in it to all the sorts of data the board has requested over the years.
Oh, okay. I like that.
So that's where all of that is in there.
That's a different thing.
Separate.
That's cool. That's
Yes.
cool. But there's another link with all the academic, all those 500 pages of stuff. Where is that?
So the one pager that you just received, I believe last week perhaps, it has, I'm not looking, I had it up a minute ago, but it does have the STAR scores are in there. There is a prior year comparison. The Title I campuses are identified in that report. They're not pulled out separately, but they are identified in that report, and that's 2 years. TELPAS is in there. GT is in there. Industry certifications, I believe, is in there. There are about 5 or 6. This one that you just received is data rich. So there are many, many pages.
So where is that link?
It's in the one pager that Mrs. Alvarez sent out. So you received multiple reports. It sounds like Dr. G said that they're in a folder for the board.
Yeah, we no longer send them. Like I used to put those in emails to you and say, here it is, a one pager, here it is. And there was 5 or 6 reports in an email. And then I think it was in July is when we changed. And they're in your share folder, the board's share folder.
All right. But where can I thought there was a link that the public could go to that link. Some kind of link with all the data on it. No, there wasn't. No.
Not recalling that. Unless, Ms. Champagne, if you're talking about just data from the state, the public can go to the Texas TEA taper reports, and they can look at any school district in there, and those reports are, I don't know how many pages those are, but that is a lot of data, and you could search for it by school year, but that's what the public can see.
And there's also texasschools.gov. You can look up any campus. Lots and lots of data, any campus you want.
Right.
To be clear, what I was asking for, though, is not anything we were just discussing. It's a campus profile.
Correct.
We're on. Okay, we understand the distinction. Okay, and there was just one. And I hope it was obvious, just to make sure we get it. But we need to update the board script. Okay. For speakers, thank you.
All right, then we will have item 11, future meetings. We'll have a work study meeting on November 17th, 2025, and there'll be a regular board meeting on Monday, December 8th, 2025. The board will now convene in closed meeting as authorized under Section 551.001 of the Texas Government Code for the following purposes: Texas Government Code 551.0821 and 551.074. It is necessary for everyone to please clear the room as the board will convene in closed meeting in this room.